This is an important topic. Thank you.
And I see Aaron too. How you doing, Aaron? Happy New Year.
Right, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can everyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Good.
Good.
Yep. Gotcha.
And you can see the slides okay?
Those I can.
All right, we are going to get started. Jen is unable to make it, so stuck with me. Friends here, and Sean is here, Dan is here. So yes, we can have a good conversation regarding Google storage strategies. So we're just going to start off by giving a recap of where we started with this, where we are now. And we're going to talk about not just reducing your storage quota, but also how you might be able to organize your file based on different data types. Okay, so just a quick recap. We are doing this because Google is doing this to some extent. So we've been living in a life where unlimited storage is great, and we haven't had to worry. Google, this is the slide here, shows information that is actually from Google's website. So they are starting to hone in on the unlimited storage because it has rapidly accelerated and not equitably across organizations. And they want to promote a more fair distribution of those storage resources. And we originally proposed a storage quota solution to the campus to be implemented February 17th. We heard lots of feedback regarding that, and we appreciate all of that information. And based on that feedback, we have decided to postpone this, at least for faculty, staff, students, and retirees. We are intending to move forward with alumni. Their storage will be 15 gigs. Actually, it already for email is 15. Well, no, not for email. It will be 15 gig for email, and their Google Drive's storage will need to be moved off to another site. So as we look at data, alumni is a large consumer of our data to some extent, and so you know, there are other services that if they have gmail.com, we have resources for them to port their files from our system over to a gmail.com address, and they can continue using those files from there. Also, shared drives. Shared drives are not counted against your My Drive quota, but we do need to put a cap on those because some of those are very large. And we are starting them out at 25 gigs. So this does not affect existing shared drives. This affects new shared drives. Anybody can create a new shared drive. When you create it, it will now be at 25 gig. And so this has been our representation of the 3 steps to get started with your drive storage reduction. 1 is to determine usage, 2 is free up space, and 3 is empty the trash. So we have some tools, and we'll share this presentation afterwards so you have access to all the links in here. But there is a quick and easy way to determine your usage. That second step, freeing up space, is where we're going to focus the rest of the presentation on. And then even if you delete files and they live in your trash for 30 days. So if you want a more immediate view of how your cleanup is affecting your overall storage, empty your trash. But even when you empty your trash, Google does take 24 to 48 hours to correctly show the impact of your work. So now we are going to dive into data strategies, and this is where we're going to look at the different data that is being used kind of categorically across campus. And Jen is here, so she is going to take over the presentation from here. And I'll give her a quick introduction. Jen Helstein is our technology support professional. Hello. For the school business. She's been here for about 3 years.
It'll be 2 years in March.
Oh, 2 years. Okay. So she's been involved in our committee, our project committee, and has a lot of background, and I will pass it on to Jen.
Morning, everybody.
Excuse,
So what we have found as far as the type of data that we are finding that most people are using.
Nicole?
Yeah.
Dan has a comment, I think.
Oh, sorry.
One
I'm
second.
sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you put it on slideshow because it's kind of hard to see?
Will do.
in this. Thank you.
As soon as I figure out how to use this mic thingy. Here we go.
Okay.
Let me bring this down a little bit here. Better?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so the types of data that we're finding that is collectively the same and how it's running across campus is there's coursework, there's research, department data, committee data, administrative business, and individual computer backups, which if you've noticed, if you do look at your backups, sometimes you may have more than one. So maybe take a look at that as well as personal non-business data is what's being saved on Google Drives, on your Google storage information. And the types of data, are pretty much the same along, documents, spreadsheets, PDFs, pictures, videos, things like that, even zip files, which sometimes those can be a little hefty. And there are different ways to organize all that data. There's your Google Drive, of course, that's what we're trying to slim down a little bit. There's the shared drives, which using your shared drives is, maybe things within department that you may have been creating and you have it saved in your personal drive versus, maybe it should be over the shared drive so everybody else has access to it as well. And then your O drive, which from what we've gathered is mainly for like department administrative data, but, maybe clarify with your departments to see if they have a particular bucket on their O drive that some of the stuff that you have may fit into those. So with your My Drive, that is basically things that are not necessarily shared with others, not things that you're creating for your department or others outside of there. Maybe those need to go into one of those other buckets that you could store them in. And then breaking it down of what type of data is underneath those categories. With coursework data, we're finding standard and multimedia. Other options to store those in could be Brightspace, Panopto, and the share drive, and of course your Google Drive, but then you gotta, look and see where it really should go and, who needs it. There is a link here, which, like Nicole said, this presentation will be shared with you guys, that if you click on it, it brings you to SUNY documentation of the rules and regs of how long these records should be retained, as well as when they're supposed to be disposed of. It is a little gray. It is a little, if you really read into it, you can figure it out. There is some clarity on particular things, and it might be a little harder to figure out on others, but at that point, if you can't figure it out, it's always okay to ask. For research data, we're finding that it's, the standard multimedia and data sets. Again, those can be stored on other things other than your Google Drive, the PC, the server, shared drive, things like that. If you don't know, you can always ask and see if somebody else could use the data as well. So that would tell you, you could put it on a shared drive. Again, we included a link for the retention policies. Like I said, they're not 100% clear cut because everybody's data varies. Everybody's data is different. But again, that's another thing you can ask your department your department is to, you know, who the data's for and see what they say and how they go forward. Department data, usually shared drive or O drive. We're finding, and it can be up to the administrator, the chair of that department, as far as how long things should be retained.
I would just add here for department data, if you have department data that is in your line drive and you share it out with the rest of the individuals in the department, that's not the way that we would recommend doing that, because when you leave the institution and your account, you know, those files get deleted somehow, they get deleted for everybody. So under a shared drive model, if you separate from the institution, the files live on in the shared drive. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see your own drive listed as a storage option here.
Like I said, that being said, with when you're creating a file or a document, whether that is going to be used within your department, ask, say, hey, should I put this in our shared drive so that way it's still there? Because again, if you're no longer here, that in your computer gets wiped and turned in, that file's not going to exist from that point on. So yes, like Nicole said, you know, ask and see if, you know, there is space or a particular bucket they want you to put it on in the shared drive for that department. With community data, we would suggest that definitely go on to the shared drive for that committee. And it's recommended that is held on to for a year after the work is accomplished. Again, that would probably, you know, anybody who chairs that committee, you know, have those discussions of how long that data should be held on to. And if there's a possibility of having to repeat something like that again, if we need to save it for future reference. But usually that's why it's set up for up to a year once the work is completed. Administrative business. Here's where the shared drive, O drive, and the business app comes into play. A lot of what we're finding on the O drive is administrative. There are a bunch of different retention policies for each department, which are listed there in the links. And if by chance you run out of, they run out of space, they can just reach out and say, hey, this is what we need and this is why we need it. But of course, you know, we're going to suggest they go through and see if there's anything that they can remove. I mean, because do we really need anything, you know, administrative data from 20 years ago? Are they going to reflect back that far? So definitely looking at ways to scrub through and see if we can squeeze any more room out of it. As far as personal data, photos, videos, documents, Word, Excel, we suggest to put those on an external drive or your own personal storage, Google Storage, because these files, we really do not want these files saved on your SUNY devices, retained on your SUNY devices. It's just as much for your benefit as ours. Privacy-wise, I mean, these are SUNY devices, they can be accessed for anything. And if you've got, so like say your tax records on there for the past 6 years or whatever, those are, it's on a SUNY device, it's saved on a SUNY device, so it's considered SUNY property, so it can be accessed. Is that going to happen? We don't know, but for your safety, it's better to not save these files on your SUNY device as well as on your SUNY drive, your Google Drive with SUNY. Definitely the external drive or your own personal Google storage. This here shows where you can find your personal backups, where I mentioned earlier about sometimes check your backups to see if you have multiple computers listed there or multiple things listed there. As far as sometimes it has my computer listed there, so it might have just saved like the my computer folder. It could also be a previous backup from your previous laptop or device that you may have switched over from. What I suggest is comparing the two laptops, like the multiple laptops, to see what is the most current one. Obviously, the one that you currently have in your hand is the most current, but just make sure your data jives. it's a good thing to have your backup for your information so that when you do switch to a new computer, you have it there. But if you go ahead and remove any extra besides the one, and after 30 days it's in your trash, you'll notice your numbers will go down. These different tips, if you click on each one of these links, it will go through your email and find attachments that are larger than these points. And at that point, you can discriminate and decide which needs to be removed and which you don't need to retain anymore. It automatically will pull it up for you, saying that these emails fall under these guidelines. Also, to look for your largest files in your drive, if you click on the link on the bottom, it'll pull up what are the largest things there. And then you can determine whether or not you need that still or not. So that will help bring your numbers down again, and it won't reflect for about 30 days. If you need help, obviously, you know how to get in touch with us. Reach out and say, hey, I got these questions, and somebody will help you out. Are there any other questions that we can answer?
I actually have a question. Oops, my camera's funky. So when I was trying to delete a share drive that I had started, it wouldn't let me. Is there a way to do that?
You delete a share drive?
Right, so I started a share drive that we no longer did a program. I no longer need the files. I tried to delete it and it would not let me. So I've just hidden a bunch of them. So I have a bunch of share drives that I could get rid of, and I just don't know how, because it's not allowing me to. When I hover it over delete share drive, it says share drive must be empty to delete it. It's empty and I can't delete it.
So the folder itself is empty, but you can't delete the folder.
Correct.
We may have to check the permissions of the folder to see if there's any other people that are attached to it,
Okay.
and go from there. If you want to give us a call, we can try to help you out and put a ticket in for that. We can help you out with that.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of them. So I've been trying really hard to delete them and I just can't. So I will definitely follow up. Thank you.
No problem. We definitely, if you want to go ahead and give us a call, put a ticket, we can go ahead and help you out with that. Any other questions?
Is that kind of a general approach that we should take, is get our specific questions down and then call a help desk? They take it down?
You can, or even just reaching out to one of us that if you have somebody that yes, definitely tickets are the way to go. That's going to get attacked faster and get the most attention faster. But if you have a TSP or somebody or DSP that you connect with, they can definitely help you. And again, they'll still guide you to put in the ticket so it keeps track of it. But
So I was recently involved in a really big project on campus.
okay,
I had a lot of files shared with me,
okay,
and going there and trying to delete them, because I don't need them anymore. I think they're where they need to be, which is in Google Drive. I get the message like, you can delete this, but it may or may not be available to others or something like that.
because if you're deleting it out of your personal drive, it's not going to be available to anybody else anymore. But if the person that shared it to you
Yes.
still has it, they should still have access. They should still have the original.
It's shared by, and I won't mention any names, right? And I deleted it, it's still in there.
Yes, yes.
I would just add, I believe that file counts against their quota.
Unless he has it saved in his My Drive.
Oh, yeah. But just, yeah, so those files that are shared are not being like double counted, triple counted with the people that
Okay.
it's shared with. It's just, yeah.
No other questions?
I'll just add that we're going to reevaluate the quotas in general in the fall semester. So we had some initial allocations, and we'll take a look at the data look like in this fall semester. but if people can still continue to clean up where they can.
Mhm.
I know some of us have been really kind of sitting down and honing in on, you know, even not the biggest files are where you're gonna get the most return, right?
And even, 10, 20 minutes a day, just sit down and look through stuff just to kind of decide what it is and what's what. It'll go a long way.
And just taking a look at the files that you have that may need to be categorized and stored differently. That's really where this presentation is really focused on. And unfortunately in Google, there is not an easy way to see what's your files as your local. That was one of the things I really wanted to see. Okay, so what's out there that I'm sharing? There's not a good tool for that. So there are some filters on our website. We have some pointers on how to kind of see some of those things. But it's not an easy step to say, show me the files I've shared. So the website has a lot of information and things out there too. Some of the links that we have in here are on the website too. Sean, did you want to add anything, or Dan?
Dan, do you have anything?
I think you covered everything.
Yeah, no, I'm good. If there's no questions, and I do want to say that I appreciate feedback that we received earlier during the period when we were contemplating putting the quotas on, and the feedback really helped us to modify our strategy, I think, in terms of how we want to go and implement. And certainly our goal is to provide, a secure and effective way of having people manage their files on campus. I know that, some people, and actually, you can tell by the people who are here, like they took this to heart and really went and uh, cleaned up their files. Certainly, we don't want people to go in to get rid of files that they really need, but we don't want people keeping files that they don't need anymore, just because they might need it someday. So I think, like, if we go and strategize, just as Jen and Nicole have outlined a strategy, it can really help us to go and to manage our file space and work through and stay at a quantity that we can maintain.
And don't hesitate to ask for help or guidance. That's what we're here for. We may not have a clear-cut answer, but we sure will help try to figure it out.
Okay,
All right.
well, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of the breakouts. Thank you.
And we'll make sure we share this slideshow with everybody.